Kia ora koutou. Welcome to Leap into Literacy, Bite-Sized Learning with Learning Matters. My name is Carla McNeil. I'm the Managing Director here at Learning Matters. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about some tips that I hope are helpful for those of you who are supporting older, struggling readers. What we know now is that the challenge often lies in what sits beneath reading fluency. This image of the building blocks of reading success highlight for us the areas of phonological awareness and alphabetic principle that once developed really help our older struggling readers to become more fluent in their reading. We also though know that because these students have not necessarily been fluent readers, that they may not have been exposed to the same amount of text and language that our more capable readers have been. Therefore, you'll notice on this image that I've also highlighted the importance of us focusing on building vocabulary as well. Please don't look at this image and think that I'm not saying that comprehension is important. I'm coming from the perspective today that building these four elements of phonological awareness, alphabetic principle, fluency, and vocabulary are all important in building comprehension. These are the areas that through the tips I'm going to share with you going forward in this short video are going to be highlighted more so. Tip one for you today is to build your knowledge as somebody who is supporting an older, struggling reader. I really encourage you to, if you haven't already, to go to our website, learningmatters.co.nz, and to download our dyslexia fact sheet. I also encourage you to head on over to the International Dyslexia Association to download the fact sheet, which has a lot of information and resources for adolescents and adults with dyslexia. The reason that I am pointing you to these two fact sheets is that dyslexia is the most prevalent specific learning difference. And many of the students that you are working with that are older struggling readers may be diagnosed as dyslexics or undiagnosed dyslexics. Tip two is to focus on, through your teaching practice, building that reading brain. This poster highlights the four areas of the brain that we activate consciously to build the reading network. What I've shown you on the top left of this screen is an image of David Kilpatrick's Equipped for Reading Success. I encourage you to consider purchasing this text and then utilising his 1-minute drills, because they will really help you to engage this particular part of your older struggling reader's brain, that part of the brain being Broca's area, where we focus on developing phonological awareness skills, which were, remember, at the bottom of the elements of building blocks of reading success. The second thing that I encourage you to focus on is developing the part of the brain known as the angular gyrus. This is what we know as the phonics chip. This is where we build our students' ability to map and attach sound to symbol and symbol to sound. So doing activities like working through reading sounds in isolation and writing sounds in isolation is really, really important to build that particular part of the brain. The other area that I want to bring to your attention is the letterbox. This is where the brain stores what it already knows. It's also important for us to realise the importance of teaching our older struggling readers words that are irregular and high frequency words. And I've linked in here for you an image of our irregular words PDF, because this is a great place for you to start. Also, or to include in your lesson sequence, the conscious teaching of irregular words. And finally, this area called Wernicke's area, which is where we store everything we know about the semantics or the meaning of our language. And I've just inserted an image here to show you that what's important here in our teaching sequence and our lesson planning for these older struggling readers is that we be sure to include the teaching of word class, and we be sure that we're not just limiting our spelling list choice or our vocab to very, very simple language. So what I've shown you here is that the base word of the slide was grubby, and we've added on a suffix here to this word. So be mindful of adding prefixes and adding suffixes and teaching through what those affixes mean to your students to help build that Wernicke's area and the semantics. All of those areas of the brain work in unison to build the reading network, which helps our students to become successful readers. Tip 3, this one I've called One Resource, Many Ways. You may have previously viewed the word level reading fluency video, and what I want to share with you here is that what you can do is you can take a blank roll and read activity and you can add in your own word selection. You can add in words from a text that the student is reading. You can add in words from a spelling list the student is working on. And the great thing about this activity is that you literally can use it 7 different ways. You can use it as a 4 in a row. You can use it as a speed read activity. Speed reading is really good for getting those brain pathways going and helping the process of orthographic mapping, which means we are working to commit words to our long-term memory. You can use these where you're including multisyllabic words as a syllable division reinforcement, and you can see that in the astronaut activity. These are great for vocabulary building. I might roll a 2 in the astronaut roll and read, and I choose the word flamboyant, and then I would discuss with the students what that word flamboyant means, and I would use it in a sentence to help build their vocabulary. I might use it as an opportunity to build morphology, where I might add a prefix or a suffix to the word and just have some wordplay going on. I might use it as some motivation for sentence builders. And then finally, I might use it as an opportunity to delve into teaching word class, where we're focusing on nouns, adjectives, verbs, etc. Tip 4 is where I want to help you understand that actually we can bring all of what we've been previously teaching through a spelling approach, through building phonological awareness, through incorporating the teaching of irregular words, and also syllable division. We can bring that into what I'm going to say, a sort of transferred state across the curriculum. So what I've selected here is a journal article, and I've taken a little passage you can see in my image from the journal article. You may have students in your class that are reading across the curriculum and they're having great difficulty at literally decoding through that text. The more challenge they have at decoding that text, the less likely they are to be able to really get into the content and to understand and then use that content to show their knowledge and to also transfer their learning into writing an essay or the like. So what I've done here for you is just given you some tips as to how you might slow down the process of accessing this material. Of course, you could always bring an accommodation in at this point and you could read the text to the student, but the reality is it would be great if we could all understand the importance of our students being able to lift the words off the page. What I would do if I was using a journal article that is not a decodable journal article, I would first explore the journal article and I would create a word list of words that I thought my students or my child might have difficulty getting into. I would then ensure that they could read those words in isolation first from that word list. I might explore the spelling patterns and reinforce some of the teaching that I previously had been doing through some specialist teaching sessions. Where necessary, I would explore and explain the vocab that is sitting within the text too, because this is going to help build language comprehension. I would also use syllable division where necessary, or morphology to help decode the word list. We would identify irregular words, and then finally, once we've done all that preamble, we would get into reading the passage. My hope through this structure is that by doing all of that pre-work, I will have enabled the students or my child to be able to get into the text more independently, but also to be able to understand the text and the purpose of the text, and to make connections at a deeper level than they would have otherwise been able to. I've just bullet pointed some examples down the bottom to show you how you might go about breaking up some of the words that are in that piece of text to the left-hand side. Tip 5 is then to think about the place of using older catch-up decodable readers and workbooks. These workbooks that come from Phonic Books UK are such a wonderful resource for teachers and parents to help support the development of reading fluency, and the workbook activities that go alongside these are really great as well. Tip 6 is to really consider how you might go about leading into developing self-advocacy skills. What I've popped on the screen here for you is a student profile that includes a pathway to student-led advocacy. If you are working with adolescents and they are struggling, it is really important that we understand the value in helping them to learn to advocate for themselves. And you can see here, I've created some information for you around what advocating for looks like, what advocating with looks like, and then leading into self-advocacy. The steps towards self-advocacy don't just occur on their own. I'd like to finish by sharing with you that what I've predominantly focused on in this bite-sized Leap into Literacy video today is around changing or building the neural pathways in the brain to build a reading network. I acknowledge that that is coming from a place of focusing on intervention, not accommodations. There are many, many accommodations out there where we can have the text read to our students. I hope you've found the tips that I've shared today for building the reading brain and neural pathways of older struggling readers to be really helpful. Good luck. Ka kite anō.